Hello, board members. Glad you can make it. This is going to be leading with On Demand, the air transportation analysis for Wilson Enterprises. My name is Jeffrey Rima, so without further ado, let's get into some of the new information. So, the summary is Wilson Enterprises has been around for several years now. We're in 21 cities and 11 different states. And next year, we have expressed interest in growing our operation to another city, Afton, Oklahoma. Up to this point, our travel model has been traveling via the scheduled airlines, and that has caused our chief operations officer alone to travel 751.7 hours in 2020. In 2021, we drew our focus to saving a little bit of his time and energy and becoming a more proficient and effective company. The solution to our travel problem has been purchasing an on-demand business aircraft. This would give us flexibility, time savings, reliability, and security that before we didn't have. So it also decrease travel time, save employees from unnecessary overnight hotel stays, and the conveniences together will reduce jet lag and improve both our workplace morale and operational proficiency. So this analysis will help you see the benefit of corporate aircraft by providing you with a city pair analysis where we're going to break down a summary of our current travel mode, how long it takes, and then what it would be if we added that addition of Afton, Oklahoma, and then also compare that with what it would be if we had an on-demand travel option. We'll give you a market analysis as well, where we're going to compare some basic information about some of the different aircraft that we could potentially purchase. We're also going to give you a selection matrix, which is based off the interviews that I conducted earlier with you guys about what would be important to you guys in a on-demand business aircraft. And then we'll talk about the cost of operation. So the city pair analysis. So again, last year we traveled 751.7 hours on scheduled airlines. Next year with the purchase of Afton, we're looking at spending about 876.5 hours on these scheduled airlines. Now that's a huge amount of time for our employees. What you'll see is with on-demand aircraft, we're going to save substantial time. We're going to spend fewer overnights in hotels, and we're going to be able to stay more productive by keeping our employees at home or in the office when they need to be, and also reducing a lot of that jet lag. So the time benefits are, as of right now, if we were to purchase one of these aircraft, we would only fly an estimated 142 hours down from 751. So that is a huge time saving of almost 609.7 hours. Now, if we expand into Afton, we're looking at flying 876.5 hours. Now, that's a huge amount of time on the road, or flying and traveling. But with the expansion and our on-demand travel option, we would only travel 169.8 hours. That is a savings of 706.7 hours, which is insane. That's almost as much savings as we spent flying last year. So you can see down our tables below, airline travel, which is in red, our current, which is in red, has been a substantial, huge time consumption for us. Now, next year it's going to be even greater, which you see in green. Now, the Pilatus PC-12 is a single-engine airplane, a little bit smaller, not a jet, but you can see it still offers a huge time savings. And the Learjet, which is what we based our numbers off of, is going to be a really substantial time saving. Not much greater than the PC-12, so that's where we're going to get into some of these comparisons. But if you look at our overnight stays, currently we're staying about 55 nights, and then projected with the Afton, we're looking at over 60 nights, almost 65 nights. With corporate travel, we're going to cut that down with a business on-demand travel option. We're going to cut that down to under 10. And then if we expand into Afton, we're looking at 12 overnight stays. That's a huge benefit for our company. The market analysis. So here's a couple aircraft that we could possibly purchase. We have in here, we're going to talk about the Learjet 75, Citation M2, the Pilatus PC-12NG, and the new King Air. So the cost of airplane, you're going to see that Learjet is way up there in cost. That cost is divided by 1,000. So you're talking about $14 million for the new Learjet. These are all new aircraft, mind you. So the cost is going to be for purchasing a brand new airplane for our company. The Citation M2 is going to be a little bit cheaper down there, and all the way up to the Pilatus. So the maximum cruise speed in knots, you'll see the Learjet's going to come into its own there at almost 460 knots. Not quite. But That's what we're looking at on speed. And then you come down to the King Air and Pilatus, which are going to be turboprop airplanes. They're going to be a little bit slower, and that's why you get those longer travel times. So the time for a 300 nautical mile trip, you're going to see the Learjet spending no time at all, less than 45 minutes traveling. Whereas that Pilatus, that PC-12, it's going to take about an hour and 10 minutes. So that's where the cost differential comes in, is you're getting a lot more speed with that Learjet. So let's talk about this Electron matrix. Like I said, we used your guys' input to create a weighted chart here to determine where these aircraft score in categories that matter to you. So what we see here is the Learjet 75 scores very well. The total value of the aircraft is extremely high, 255 total points on our scale. Compared to that Citation M2, which is another jet, a lot less expensive, but also able to carry a lot less people and cargo, less fuel, less range, but still a very capable airplane, scored in the 220s. The Pilatus PC-12 scored the highest with a 264. And that's because even though it's a little bit slower, that wasn't as important for you guys as was the cost and the value factor and the price and different things like that. So that PC-12 did a really good job in that category. Now the King Air 250 did the worst out of our categories here, but something that still might be considering for you guys, because the King Air 250 is a multi-engine twin turboprop airplane. So it does add some safety benefits there, so it's something definitely for you guys to take a look at. The cost of operations analysis, so we'll talk about numbers here. You'll see that operating a corporate aircraft, although significantly more expensive than traveling via the airlines, is still going to be much less expensive than had we chose to charter an airplane or fly an airplane that's not ours. Because we'll see the cost to charter an airplane is $1.465 million, which is pretty substantial. But we'd have our own airplane, we'd be able to put our name down the side of it, and it's going to make us look like a much more professional company. So if you look down at the bottom chart first, you'll see that the Learjet has a total yearly cost of $1,135,400. That's a significant cost, but again, you get a lot of good airplane for that. The Pilatus, which scored the best for you guys on the previous page, is only $521,339. That's still a significant cost, but remember all the time savings we're going to get for these airplanes. If we look up at the variable costs, again, you're going to see that the fixed costs in light blue and the variable costs in purple equal the total yearly cost of the airplane. So the fixed cost in blue is going to be $559,400 for that Learjet, and then the variable costs are going to be $576. So you're talking about a lot more cost per flight hour for that. Whereas that Pilatus PC-12NG is going to have a very low fixed and a relatively low variable cost as well associated with it. The King Air has a higher, basically the same fixed cost, just very, very minuscule difference. But the variable cost is a lot higher. The reason that it's higher is because, again, you're using two engines as opposed to one, so you're looking at more maintenance per hour on the King Air than you're talking on the PC-12. So the operating structure for our business is as such. We'll have a chief operations officer and the chief executive officer will combine together to make plans for this airplane. The chief pilot will fall under them. That's who they will go to help with the decision making. And then the chief pilot is also the one who's going to report back to the COO and the CEO. And in our airline or our corporate aircraft, the decision makers are going to be the chief operations officer and the chief executive officer. The safety managers are going to work alongside that chief pilot, and then underneath them is going to be the administrative staff. The administrative staff is going to be in charge of all the scheduling and the chargebacks to the different branches in our group, because this is how we're going to fund and make sure that each branch is getting what they want out of the airplane, and then that we can upgrade the airplanes and fly the airplanes in accordance with the amount of use that they get from us. Some of the prohibited uses of this aircraft are going to be flying candidates for office and their staff. There's legal issues with that. There are ways around it, but I don't see why we would need to fly political candidates in our airplane. And then personal flights are going to be prohibited unless the user is going to be paying the taxes for the valuation of the personal flight. So the way tax look at that is it comes back to the user as part of their income, part of their salary, if they use the private jet for personal use. So personal use flights are going to be prohibited unless they are paying for the tax purposes. Any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them. I appreciate your guys' time and look forward to doing more business with you here in the future.